Massive spoiler alert for all these episodes. You've been warned. Generally speaking, kids' shows go for happy endings and positive messages. Easy to digest subjects kids can understand and learn from. Hell, even adults can sometimes learn a thing or two from family entertainment. But the family-friendly nature doesn't stop some of these shows to contain what I can only describe as a Disney-fied Black Mirror episode. Stories that are a little darker, sadder, morally gray, and don't always provide a clear positive solution, if they even offer anything that qualifies as a solution. Today, I'd like to look at some of the stories that stuck with me throughout my life. They either made an impact when I saw them at the time, or something clicked as an adult thinking back about them. In no particular order, here are 8 kids show episodes that are deep as f***. The Same Game from Fairly Odd Parents. In the same game, Timmy gets bullied by a dentist for his teeth. In order to avoid being treated differently for his appearance, Timmy wishes every human to become the exact same. No more race, gender, ugly or pretty people. You name it. Everyone turns into a gray blob in a bland and colorless world where it's hard to tell people apart. That of itself is already a pretty compelling statement regarding individuality, but where it goes a step darker is what happens when Timmy encounters the dentist again. Since everyone is the same, you'd assume the dentist sees no reason to mock others for their appearance anymore. Well,
actually, we're the grayest and the blobbiest.
But everyone is exactly alike!
That's where you're wrong, little not that gray boy. In fact, only blobs as gray and blobby as we are can have a gray ball as fun as this. Now beat it!
Yep. Even with no distinct differences between them, people can think of any nonsense to form groups and belittle others, no matter how trivial, or in this case, non-existent the reasons are. As Timmy states,
I changed their outsides, not their insides!
The episode ends with some good old-fashioned violence. Just beating the crap out of the bully to get your way. Can't say with certainty this resolution is a great lesson, but I can't deny its sheer effectiveness either. So, good on you, Timmy's mom. Squidville from SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm going to get personal here, but this is an episode that got painfully real in my actual life. Squidward is done with living next to SpongeBob and all his shenanigans, so he decides to move to an utopian neighborhood. This neighborhood is some sort of custom-made heaven, where Squidward has the perfect life he always dreamed of. Usually these type of stories reveal that the town is more sinister than it seems, or something unfortunate happens that forces the character to leave. But nope, what happens in Squidville is far more depressing. Squidward continues to live there. The place stays the paradise he wants it to be. Everything goes according to plan. And he becomes miserable.
I sorta don't feel like playing my clarinet today.
As I said, this episode became my reality a while back. I had a job I liked a lot, gaming hobby I loved, friends and family I visited on the weekends, a simple but pleasant and worthwhile life. Then I continued to experience the same week for years on end, never going on vacation, never trying new things, didn't meet new people, always living in a comfort zone which got less comfortable over time, ending in misery and complete cluelessness as what to do next in life. Even a good routine loses its charm if it's the only thing you ever do. Part of what made Squidward's time with SpongeBob important is that SpongeBob was unpredictable and constantly challenged Squidward, putting him into all kinds of situations he normally would avoid, sometimes with bad outcomes, but it also offered some of the highlights of his life. Life needs a bit of chaos. You need to be challenged. You need to be willing to risk being hurt and try new things. Because if comfort is all you live for, the comfort will eventually fade, and you end up with nothing left.
Yep, this is great. We might as well rename this town Squidward's Paradise. Or perhaps Too Much Paradise.
The Zoo from Steven Universe. The Zoo is part of a 5-episode plot where Steven's father gets kidnapped by the Diamonds, and they bring his father all the way to a human zoo on the other side of the galaxy.
I saw it myself. A private menagerie deep in space, humans in captivity. We were never able to rescue them. We had no way to get to them after the war. But That was over 5,000 years ago.
Needless to say, Steven goes on a journey to save his father. The first episode is about the kidnapping. The 2 following episodes are about reaching the zoo and trying to break in. It's only at the very end of the 3rd episode we get to actually see the zoo. And
Huh? What is this place? And where's... Dad?
turns out the zoo is a damn paradise. It's heaven on earth. In space! Steven discovers that these people live a stress-free, euphoric life, all while they're completely oblivious to who they are and what is actually going on.
I can't believe this. They're all so happy. It's like they don't even know that they're trapped here.
Well, of course they don't. They've never been anywhere else. They love it here. I mean, look at this place. Can you blame them? They've got everything they need, and they never have to worry about a thing.
This rescue mission suddenly turns into the moral question of, do you tell them? Strip them from this fulfilling existence and bring them to Earth, hoping it will somehow work out for the better? Generally speaking, I prefer the unpleasant truth over a comfortable lie. But in this hypothetical scenario, I'll have to say, no. I'll let them stay blissfully ignorant and let them live their peaceful lives. The zoo returns in the Steven Universe Future Show and gives some answers to what happened to these people. And to be honest, I don't like the fact they gave answers. The uncertainty about what is the right thing is what's engaging about the story. And by giving answers, you take that away. But it didn't ruin the zoo for me. It's still a solid story in its own right. Society of the Blind Eye, from Gravity Falls. An episode about unpleasant memories and the desire to get rid of them. Mabel and Dipper discover a secret society that have a device which allows you to erase a memory of your choosing. This device is used in order to keep the monsters a secret and prevent the village from living in fear. It asks the question, if you had a device that could erase every unpleasant memory you could think of, will you use it? I sure as hell wouldn't mind using that device a handful of times. Mabel considers using it too in order to forget about her recent heartbreaks, until they discover what happened to someone who got a little too trigger-happy with the device.
I believe I have invented a machine that can permanently erase these memories from my mind. Test subject 1, Fiddleford. It worked! I can't recall a thing! Today I came across a colony of little men, very disturbing. I would like to forget seeing this. I accidentally hit another car in town today. I feel terrible. Terrible. I've been forgetting words lately. I wonder if there are any negative side effects of... I saw something in the lake! Something big! Yuru! Xerxivi! Gersmatov!
The device looks like a gun, and that pose isn't a coincidence. Erasing a memory is like killing a part of yourself. Just in case the message wasn't clear yet, they spell it out in the end.
You know, no one likes having bad memories, but maybe it's better to remember the bad things and learn from them than to go all denial crazy trying to forget.
That's some mature junk right there, Mabel.
I'd still use it though. No Harmony with Melody, from My Life as a Teenage Robot. An underrated episode from an often overlooked series. The story of Melody starts in the Brad Venture episode, where Brad meets the daughter of a mad scientist. At first it seems like she doesn't want to be on her father's side and is willing to run away with Brad, until it takes a rather dark turn.
Melody, come here.
She's with me, Doc.
Melody, you know you must obey me. Come here.
I'm sorry, Brad. He's my father. I must obey him.
Damn. It's revealed Melody is just an experiment by a mad scientist who wants to create the ultimate combat machine, despite the fact she doesn't want to be a weapon. Melody returns a couple of episodes later, claiming she walked away from her father and wants to spend time with Brad. Naturally, this makes Jenny suspicious of her, thinking Melody has sinister motives. What follows is a surprisingly wholesome episode where Melody and Brad just spent time together, falling in love. In fact, Melody seems to be so successful at finding the fulfilling relationship Jenny's been wanting all this time. It straight up turns into jealousy. In the end, Jenny's suspicion leads to a big fight. A fight Melody clearly doesn't want to have.
Please listen to me. No way. You may have Brad brainwashed, but I've seen your destruction. My what?
This all ends with a moment that shocked me quite a bit as a kid.
You're his
evil as your father. I'm not evil. I'm a normal girl! I am normal! I don't belong here. I don't belong anywhere.
Worst part is, this is where her story just ends. She never shows up in the show again and is presumably forever alone after this. This was one of the first times I've seen a story about the unfairness of life. A good person trying really hard to fit in, only to be denied a chance by things completely out of their control. A sad character who deserved better.
Once I've equipped you with them, you will no longer just be another android. No, you shall be the most powerful robot on Earth.
Yes, Daddy.
The Southern Raiders from Avatar: The Last Airbender. All the episodes that I've watched for this video were either clearly aimed at young children, or they felt like stories intended for both kids and adults to enjoy. But if it weren't for the fact I watched Avatar as a kid, and know from experience this was hugely popular among children, I swear this episode was part of a drama aimed at adults. In order to gain Katara's trust, Zuko offers to help Katara resolve a trauma that haunted her all her life, getting revenge on the murderer of her mother.
Mom, I'm scared.
Go find your dad, sweetie. I'll handle this.
What follows is a story that isn't afraid to go to dark areas, often explored by adult revenge stories, dealing with trauma and a desire to cause harm to the ones responsible for the pain. The morality of revenge and what revenge is even able to accomplish, if anything at all.
She needs us, Aang. This is about getting closure and justice.
I don't think so. I think it's about getting revenge.
Fine, maybe it is. Maybe that's what I need. Maybe that's what he deserves.
It's an intense, emotional roller coaster of an episode where I was on the edge of my seat as soon as Katara started her journey. But the most remarkable aspect of this episode to me has to be the killer himself. When they finally find him, he's no evil overlord, no criminal mastermind or deranged psychopath. He is just an old man, an ordinary, unremarkable civilian who just lives his everyday life, as if his past never happened. He's still cold and doesn't care about anyone but himself.
I did a bad thing. I know I did. And you deserve revenge. So why don't you take my mother? That would be fair.
But at this point, killing him for his actions in war feel less and less like a triumphant act of heroism, and more like pointless violence. Katara doesn't go through with it for reasons she herself doesn't quite seem to grasp. The pain isn't magically cured and the killer isn't somehow forgiven. Neither is there certainty killing him would have made a difference. Sometimes emotions are more complicated than that. The important thing is, it was Katara's own choice not to go through with it, and the whole experience helped her trust Zuko, who stood by her decisions throughout the journey. Tale of X-49 from Samurai Jack. It's not uncommon for stories to humanize the main villain nowadays, but to humanize what would normally just be another generic enemy is rare. X-49 is a tragic film noir episode, entirely told from the point of view of one of the robots who encounters Jack. X-49 was made before Jack arrived in the future to do Aku's dirty work. However, unlike the other robots, X-49 was created with emotions and a conscience. While this awareness made him a much better fighter, given his fear made him more careful, it also made him aware of the horrors he was committing. Once a newer fighting robot was introduced, X-49 retired to live a peaceful life with his dog Lulu. But after the newer models all failed to defeat Jack, X-49 is blackmailed into chasing Jack himself.
I'm not sure if I even have a chance. But I gotta try. For Lulu.
All he wanted was a peaceful life with his dog. But from the start of his existence, he was pushed into a war that wasn't his, by a corrupt leader he hated and threatened to lose his loved ones if he disobeyed. Just a tool in an awful system. In the end, X-49's story tragically ends where Jack's stories usually heroically start. You never even get to know what happens to Lulu. For all the audience knows, Aku ended Lulu's life, since X-49 failed to stop Jack. It's a sad and bleak ending, but it's also what makes it one of the best episodes in the show.
Lulu. Take care of Lulu.
And last but not least, Baby Doll from Batman the Animated Series. In Baby Doll, various actors of a former sitcom get kidnapped for unknown reasons. As the mystery unravels, you learn the criminal behind the kidnapping is Mary Doll, the star of that very sitcom, who has a rare condition where her body never ages, always appearing like a little girl despite being over 30 years old. It's a story about wanting to go back to the good times, even when life has completely changed and there is no way back, playing a character instead of showing the real you. Mary goes so far in forcing things like they were, she flat out becomes the character from the show, both appearing and acting like a literal child.
Hey, guess what's today? Anybody know? It's my birthday! Yay for me!
Making it rather unsettling when she drops the act and starts using her real voice.
It was hard for me out there. I studied and trained and auditioned, but no one wanted me. Over the years, I remembered how happy I was with all of you around me and the folks at home watching me each week. Me.
Baby doll. Now I'm baby for good and everyone will love me again. Hugs, hugs!
People can turn to toxic nostalgia, distract themselves with entertainment they used to enjoy, going to places they used to live, or try to see the people they used to spend time with. Anything to get a taste of how things used to be. While there is usually no harm in nostalgia, there is a reason it's called toxic. If you refuse to accept reality, you can never move on from that reality. Unlike most Batman villains, I ended up feeling sorry for Mary, wanting to somehow grant her wish of becoming the woman she desires to be and give her that Shakespeare career she fought for. But even she realizes her make-believe can't continue, and the reality she wants can never be.
Why couldn't you just let me make believe?
Those were my picks for Deep Kid Show episodes. What would be some picks for you? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.